Do you pay enough in taxes to proclaim that that person works for you, that you're paying their wages? Or is it more likely that the taxes you pay come back to you more than you realize? Business owner, educator, and lifelong observer of politics and economics, making sense of complex issues. Taxes, one of the most certain things in life. We know we have to pay them, and we know we don't want to. But at some point in our life, we realize that it is our duty to pay towards the things that society provides us. It's part of the social contract. Just as we respect each other's privacy and we respect each other's space, we should respect the fact that we pay towards something that is better for all of us. Now, it can be that people think that they pay a lot in taxes and what they get back is, I've heard it said, a broken society. That they get back infrastructure that's failing. That they don't get back as much as they give. And if we extrapolate this to the states, there can be said that there's a disparity between how much some states pay into the federal coffers and how much the other states draw from them, and that imbalance is unfair. This video is about both those things and saying that it is fair and you don't pay that much tax. Okay, so that's going to rile a few people up already, but to be honest, most people watching this video right now don't pay that much in taxes. There'll be a few that pay a lot, to which we say, thank you. But for most of us, we will be paying thousands, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, and certainly not millions. So when we consider, let's say, $10,000 a year in income taxes, and then consider some of the things you get back for that, or, as I want to get across here, the things that you've already had. So one of the things that you've already had is your education, your compulsory education, up to the grade that you are required to attend school. That education has been provided to you. Now, if you think about the cost of something like the education for a child over the course of 10 odd years, how much would that add up to? And have you, as a young adult perhaps, paid that back yet in your taxes? And then during that time that you were growing up and you enjoyed all the infrastructure that was provided to have the situation where the schools are open and available and accessible, and that infrastructure deteriorates and is replaced and expanded, have you contributed much to that? You've contributed some, but could you say that you have not been given back what you received? It's impossible to work out. So let's look at something else. During your life, you have lived freely without the concern that your country could be, at any moment, be under attack, invaded, overthrown. This security comes at a huge cost. Trillions and trillions of dollars accumulated over decades to establish your country as fairly much free from interference by outside actors. And that security is another thing that most certainly cannot be measured. So these are just some of the basic things before we go into the idea of clean water, highways, electricity, all the things that are provided so that you can live your modern life. But let's go into the numbers a little bit. If we're looking at how much an individual pays in taxes, there's a couple of odd things that happen in the tax brackets. One of them is that when you are single and you're earning, a beginner grade salary, and you're paying about 12% in taxes, in income tax, and then you meet someone and you form a relationship and you combine and file joint tax returns, you've now doubled, let's presume they're on the same footing as you've doubled your income. So suddenly you would see that that large increase should put you into another bracket. However, the system is designed so that it benefits people that do that. So you will actually find that you do not fully enter into that higher bracket, because the system is designed to benefit couples in that sense. And as you go up in the brackets, as you go up in your income, there's one point where it doubles. And it doubles for a reason that is beyond me to explain. Suffice to say that the reason for this is that the gap between the level of income you have as a single person and then the level you have as a couple at the lower wage level allows for a bigger jump before it goes up to a higher tax bracket. So it goes from 12, I think, to 22. So it almost doubles. And I think they call it the doubling. And that is, on the surface, appears to be unfair. But when you do the math on it, when you work it out, it does benefit those young couples to reduce their income tax burden. And as that goes up, as those young couples who are higher earners, let's say a couple of lawyers that get together and form a couple, and they're on a much higher salary, the benefit that they get is reduced. The brackets creep up slower, but the amount of income is also smaller, so that they hit those higher levels quicker. They don't get the benefit that occurs with the doubling. It's complicated. It's not easy for me to explain. It's not easy for me to fully comprehend, but it is the way the system is designed. I would argue, though, that we could reduce that income tax further. It could be, and it should be, adjusted for inflation, because the rates, the salaries that they're now on there, I think it's the doubling occurs around 100,000, and once you're at 150,000 each, you don't get as much benefit as the two people on, say, 50,000 get. I kind of think that that might be a pretty low salary right now. I'm not sure. I don't know what base salaries are in the US. Here in Japan, it's not comparable. Base salaries in Japan are terrible. A lot of bonuses. So it's difficult to make that comparison for me. But given the inflation of the last 10 years, I would imagine that that is not, that 100,000 a year is not a massive salary anymore. And so it should probably be started to consider that there should be a lower tax rate for these people. I think if we are going to say we want to protect the middle class, and yet we still need the income to pay for the security of the nation, the infrastructure, and the provision of education, we have to get that tax income from somewhere else. Now, if you give tax cuts to the top, you're making it even more difficult to fund those things necessary to create a stable country. This means it's putting a burden or disincentivizing the conversation that needs to be had to lower the tax rates for the lower and the middle. Tax rates have to go up at higher income levels, so that the provision of the things that have made it possible for those people to get where they are, to be able to have those incomes, can be sustained for future generations to be able to do that. Now, people that have heard this and are against this will say, leaky bucket, government can't do these things. Well, this is the end. Well, our grandparents were the end of the generation that benefited from the era when that was the norm, when the higher income earners were taxed higher and subsidized the security and education and water and highways and dams and all the other infrastructure for the whole country. Now that those things are decaying, they need to be replaced. This is not the time to be trusting that the wealthier people, if given their taxes back, will invest it, because we know that even in the last round of tax cuts, that the stock market has gone up. What? I have people telling me they've made 40% gains. At what cost? You can't get a 40% gain in the stock market in a year if that didn't come from somewhere. And where did that come from? That came from tax cuts and share buybacks. So where is the investment that was promised? Where is the investment that will create further income revenue for the government? That is not happening. The government cannot earn income from increased share prices. Increased share prices do not benefit the country. They may benefit the few percent of Americans that own a large amount of stocks, but they certainly don't benefit the people that own a small amount and the majority of people that own none. So when you're considering how much you pay in taxes, when you're considering the tax brackets, and when you're considering tax cuts, bear in mind that all of this money is an investment, and all of this money circulates in the economy and comes back. This is Lang Standard. If you're still here, honestly, you have no idea how much it helps if you subscribe. I'll keep these coming.